Greetings to you, my friend. It's time again to continue our story through Exodus, and we're talking about the pivotal point of Israel nation, the last plague of the firstborn, and Exodus, chapter 11 to chapter 13. Now Lord said to Moses, I'll bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will let you go from here. And when he does, he will drive you out completely. You see, who is driving out of the land? It's Pharaoh who is driving. And he says, for surely, like you will die by death, or you will surely die. The same, he will drive you for sure. He will do that himself. Moses and Aaron should be probably in Memphis or in Heliopolis, where the high priest's throne was. And it was very close to Hoshen, so he can come just before the last plague. Very close distance. God said, now announce to the people that men and women should ask their neighbors for articles of silver and gold. Do you see, we're not behind the brick wall anymore, but there's not freedom yet. And you will find on my shelves some articles of silver and gold for you to remember that story. And you see the favor of the neighbors. Moreover, Lord gave not only favor of Egyptian people to Israelites, even Moses himself was highly regarded in Egypt by officials and by people. Can you hear the notes? When the whole nation have the respect of Moses, and by gaining respect to Moses, they're gaining respect to the God of Moses. Can you hear the notes of Exodus when other people drawn to God of Israel and can join to the great event in time? So God said every firstborn in the land of Egypt will die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on a throne to the firstborn of slave girl behind the mill. Is the slave girl guilty? It's a question for you. But she is the firstborn. So is the firstborn of all cattle. Why? God is talking about firstborn, not the second, not the third. Why not the probably the best out of cattle, or the best of more important? Remember, patriarchs did know that. All the firstborn who opens the womb belong to the Lord. And you shall buy them out. Even the cattle, even unclean cattle, you have to pay for that. So clean cattle will be sacrificed and brought as a burnt offering. Olah, the thankfulness to God. Not the sin, but thankfulness to God. And even the firstborn. He says, all the firstborns are mine. They are priests to the Lord. They have to carry the sacred duties of teaching the nation and the people and Egypt as well to the law and authority of God. God claiming his own. He's not claiming something else, he's claiming his own, and patriarchs knew it, except that firstborn has a double portion of inheritance. You know that. Why Christ is called firstborn? Is he really chronologically firstborn? He's never been born. He ever existed. But why he is called firstborn? Because he has authority of everything. When you are firstborn, I'm the firstborn, you have to take care of your siblings. You have to take care and judge them and be as the mother or the father to them in case your mother and father die. You are the one they have to come to, and they looking up to you in God's guidance and teaching as well. Christ is the firstborn of creation. Now, all the firstborn who dedicated to God has to be redeemed by the lamb, sacrificial lamb. Passover lamb. And it's not the same lamb as we're bringing to the temple or tabernacle. Completely different. It's not a sin offering. It's not a sacrifice for the sin. It's a sign of redemption, to redeem you. To understand that you won't die because the redeeming lamb died for you and the blood is on the posts. Christ Jesus is called firstborn over all creation because he redeemed all creation from the cattle to Egyptian firstborn on the throne. And they had the right, and they had the time, and they had the opportunity to receive him as a redeemer. The question is, do you want to? So Christ called is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning. He is the firstborn from the dead. And in him, everything has the supremacy. He has supremacy of everyone. He is the firstborn. He has authority. And accept that. He's not a first one who was raised from the dead in chronological meaning, but he is the first one completely raised up from the second death. Nobody ever before him took that chance to raise up from the second death. When he was dying, he didn't have any hope. All before him were looking forward to his sacrifice, believing in him, in his redemption, so they could fall asleep. As Jesus said, she is not dead, she is sleeping. But when Christ was dying, he didn't die to sleep. He died into non-existence. He is the firstborn to bring all the rest to him. Messiah is our Passover lamb sacrificed for us. Paul says in Corinthians. What is it? Pesach or Passover. Pesach, 2 words in Hebrew, means to pass over or to skip over or to leap. When I'm gardening, I'm trying not to step on a small plants where I'm working. I'm trying to step over them so I do not hurt them. I protect them. I spare them from my weight. So I leap over them when I walk. So is the Passover. God spares the firstborn. He skips over. He protects. He's hovering over in a protective manner. He stood guard over the Israelites' home. Shekinah glory herself was dwelling upon the homes of Israelites who marked their homes with obedience and faith. So, originally, Pesach, Passover, means to spare and to pass over the faithful people. If you ask any Israelite child of 3 to 5 years old, what does Passover mean? They will tell you. Pe means mouth and sach means to speak. Mouth, which is speaking. You will say how strange it is, but out of the mouth of the small child, truth comes out. So Pesach means the mouth that speaks. What makes your mouth speak? After generations of silence, oppression, and spiritual exile, when they didn't have a chance to sanctify Sabbath, to gather together to worship God, they were so thirsty to open the mouth in a praise to the Lord. And that is the opening of the mouth, when they can still remember the songs of their great-grandparents. Now their mouth can be opened into singing these songs. And you know the songs of Exodus. We know them very well. Exodus marks the return of speech, return of identity, expression, freedom, and liberty. God says, the male 1 year old from sheep or from the goats. Remember that. We often think of the sheep only, but redemption can be or sheep or goat, 1 year old. What is it, 1 year old? It means from 12 months to 23 months old. In that gap, 1 year old, and it shall be kept by you until the 14th day of the month of Nisan. On 10th day, you go to your neighbor if you're very poor, and you ask the neighbor to sell to you a lamb or the goat. You take it home, or from your farm, you take it in, and you give it to your children to become a pet. So in 4 days, you can get bonded to that lamb or the goat. You can feed it from your hand. It can run around your house, and children can enjoy the company of the little lamb or the goat. And on the 14th day, you should slaughter it. Your lamb should be without any blemish, a male of the first year. Without any blemish, our Christ suffered for us on a cross. Do you know that in Egyptian culture, the lamb was a sacred animal? So by taking your lamb, the small lamb, the Egyptians will object because you're slaughtering the deity in front of their eyes. But doing so, you are openly and publicly demonstrate your faith. And the blood shall be a sign for you, a sign for God who is visiting, or a sign for the rest. First of all, it has to be a sign for you. When you do so, you're not just demonstrating your faith to the neighbors and to the entire community, you do it for you, to show that you believe. So often we do something, or we silently believe and pray, but God calls us to demonstrate our faith, like in the case of Exodus. You make your choice visible to the entire world. Sometimes you have to demonstrate. What else was on the tables on that specific night, 14th of Nisan, was the bitter herbs. The same herbs when Jesus had the Lord's Supper. And remember, Judah put his bread into the bitter herbs. And what is that made Jesus suffer and cry in Gethsemane? That is maror, the horseradish, the bitter herb that makes you cry. The remembrance that Israelites suffered and cried in Egypt. Jewish history will tell us that the year was 2448 from creation, according to the Jewish calendar, and approximately 1312 BC, but they might vary by different scholars. God took Moses at night, the same as he shown Abraham the Milky Way and stars and said, the same will be amount of your descendants. The same he did it to Moses. He said, look at the night sky. Do you see that young moon? Do you see that crescent? That is the sign for the new month for you. You're not living in Egyptian calendar anymore. You are starting a new calendar, lunar calendar, and I will be the one who will mark the beginning of the year for you. In Hebrew language, the word month and the word moon is the same in sounding. So when he says this month, he said this moon, that type of moon, very narrow crescent, will be the sign for you for the first month. And that sign will be also for the beginning of the year for you. When Hebrew says on that day, it means you can point with your hand or your finger like that. Look at this moon. So God says that Nisan will be the first month, and then it will be Iyar, and then it will be Sivan the third, and so on. So the calendar didn't come from human wisdom. Calendar came from the Lord himself, and he marked the beginning of every month, a new moon or crescent. And it was on the 1st of Nisan. In 14 or 15 days, remember, it will be full moon. With the full moon, Israelites has to get out. Full moon will give them light to start off their journey, and later on God will join in a Shekinah glory, in a fire by night and the cloud by the day. But first of all, the moon will give them light. In Egyptian desert, this time of the month is the perfect weather to go by day and by night. And if you are recommended to travel Egypt or to Saudi Arabia, where they will be working later, that is the perfect time to travel. Did you ever ask yourself why God didn't start the calendar and Exodus on the first day of Nisan? Why it has to be the 10th to take the lamb and then wait another 4 days until you slaughter it by twilight, and then the 15th of Nisan early morning you have to leave? Did you ask yourself why all 3 feasts that God gave the Israelites as obedience to keep through the year, and all males has to appear before the Lord as obligation and a rule, has to deal with the number 10 of the month and the number 15th of the month? Have you ever asked yourself? I won't give you answer. I will ask you to search for the answer. Let's say Sukkot, the remembrance of the 40 years of travel of Israelites, is celebrated of 15th of Tishri, and the Day of Atonement occurs on the 10th of Tishri. God says, so this day shall be a memorial for you. You keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout all generation. You shall keep it as a feast by everlasting audience. Exodus chapter 12. Remembrance is sacred. So many things are built on remembrance. You have to remember Sabbath day. You have to remember the stories from your past to pass it to the generation that comes. And God said you should lie and you wake up and you have to tell your son and your daughter what happened to us, because that gave us everything, freedom and future. It says you shall tell it to your son or the daughter because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. You're not only telling your child to educate him, but you have to also verbalize it, internalize it, and make it to your story. When my child is asking, Mama, tell me, what was that for you? And I tell him, what does it mean for me? What did it mean for me to keep Sabbath when I was 12 years old? What does it mean for me to worship Lord in communism country? What did it mean to me to keep the Sabbath holy through the years of university in a hostile environment? What does it mean to you? And then my mouth is speaking because I have a story to tell. What is your story that marks your history with the Lord? What is your mouth is speaking about? What makes you speak out loud and internalize it for yourself? You know that Egyptian borders were well protected. So well protected that in the history of Egypt, no records of runaway slaves. Nobody could cross the borders. Amenhotep I, previous to the Pharaoh of Exodus, he made the watchtowers, fortresses, canals, stocked with crocodiles and ditches, and so many soldiers, they kept the borders safe from anyone crossing it without rights. Even the troops and the tribes who moved the goods from the Egypt to Babylon and down, they had to have a passport to cross, like Edomites and other tribes. You will ask me, how did it ever happen that Moses was crossing the Moses was a favorite of Hatshepsut. He had a connection under God's guidance and wisdom. He crossed few times, and even Aaron had to come out to him, to his place, and saw where he was staying. So Israelites by no means could cross the borders if God would not prepare for them a path. In the day of turmoil and a night where everyone cried out and was completely taken out by tragedy, millions can move out. And Josephus, in his Antiquities of the Jews, writes that Moses organized the Israelites in 12 tribes before the Exodus, and he divided the people into the tribes and groups and assigned leaders for each tribe to help to manage people and guide them before the departure. Everyone was ready. Everyone was looking forward to. God said them, take a gold and a silver. God knows for us what to take, what to leave. Gold and silver in amazing quantities will be used for tabernacle. Not what they thought to pay off the houses, to build out the treasures. It will be used for God's house. God tell us what to take and what to leave. So what did we learn today? We learned that God takes us out of bondage, out of slavery, out of building the bricks, and gives us freedom, gives us inheritance, gives us a meaning what to do in order we can serve Him as a firstborn, as a redeemed one, because He paid the price for us. He shed the blood that we can live. May God bless you to internalize that story, that it can make you speak to everyone around us and especially to your family. God bless you.